when each time when he compressed it like this, it would alternate. It'll oscillate left, right, left, right. When done correctly, when these are built perfectly, the twist of all the pressure that we're doing actually alternates like left, right, in a coherent way. So this is known as the jitterbug effect, and it's one of the keys to alchemy, because as we'll see later in subatomic structures, this triangle here represents like a tetrahedron, and this square is like another window, like a cube. And this shape of molecules can form as a linear sequence and come out of this window and reform into something else. It's kind of one of the alchemist's clue to transfiguration of the elements. This is the diagram of Buckminster Fuller's cube octahedron, which he termed the jitterbug, and it just shows what I just did before your eyes. We have the full shape. When it's half compressed, it makes icosahedron, and then as we compress it again, it becomes octahedron, and we compress that again and it becomes tetrahedron. So now you can understand why that the 5 Platonic solids are just part of the mystery. It's not everything. That the Archimedean solids are one of the grand secrets that most people don't know about, but as you can see, it's a clue to subatomic structure, which is what I'm going to show you now. Just a few more diagrams, not taken from Buckminster Fuller but from Charles Leadbeater. So this work the work that Charles Leadbeater did 100 years ago inspired the work of Buckminster Fuller, who gave us the geodesic domes. And all the people that I've met that have studied with Buckminster Fuller have all become great teachers themselves, because they understand the principle of pure sacred geometry based on these eternal shapes, a form of fixed design that will never change. So we saw this diagram before. This is Charles Leadbeater and Annie Besant, and 100 years ago this couple worked in India, and they were able to do remarkable things. I think perhaps because they studied with true yogis called Siddha yogis. Siddha kind of means magic, and these yogis were able to swell their consciousness and become as big as the universe, or they could miniaturize themselves and go into the world of the atom. They were able to do things like levitate, telekinesis, intuition, skills that we all have. They're not important, they're more the magical effects. The true magic is obviously love and non-addiction to anything. But these Westerners that studied with these yogis developed remarkable skills, and Leadbeater was able to describe successfully all the moons on Jupiter. 100 years ago, without telescopes, he could clairvoyantly diagnose all the features of the moons of Jupiter. And not only that, he was able to go into the atom and fully describe every atomic element 100 years ago, including all the isotopes. So his secret or understanding of atomic structure was that it was a nesting of the 5 Platonic solids. So when we look at these 5 Platonic solids nesting as one unit, that was kind of his key to what he saw in the microscopic world, that the atomic structure of oxygen would be the icosahedron with a tetrahedron inside of it, or this could represent the outer valency structure of gold, which indicates our fascination with gold throughout the history of the planet Earth, is that we're seeking the charge or the bliss of the memory of the dodecahedron that gave us the ability to travel through the stars. This is all part of our memory. Some of these pictures that I'm showing you now of Leadbeater's material are taken from 2 books on Alchemy 1 and Alchemy 2, compiled by one of Leadbeater's students called Dr. Chris Illert. Chris Illert is 39, a 5th generation descendant of old German Baptists who settled in the Barossa Valley region 150 years ago. Chris Illert's a personal friend of mine. He became distinguished in Wollongong University, and he's having a very hard time trying to convince the elite in the university that there's another reality besides quantum physics. And he's actually very distraught and upset with his inability to convince quantum physicists that there is a world of symmetry in the sacred geometry. So since last time I saw him, he's doing other things, and he's written some amazing books dedicated to the works of Leadbeater. So I'm just giving tribute to Chris Illett, who's been my personal mathematician and guide in helping me understand deeper mathematics when I've needed to understand things. This shows you here the cube octahedron taken from Chris Illett's book. The definition of the Platonic solid symmetry is that everything that we know as gold, silver or oxygen are based on the fact that they are one shape within another shape. So all these elements of the periodic table are based specifically on the 5 Platonic solids, how they nest one within the other. So according to Charles Leadbeater, the atomic structure of the oxygen molecule is based on the icosahedron. So here's the 20 equilateral triangles, and inside of that are 4 spheres, which is a tetrahedron. So here's the 4 spheres. He calls it an alpha particle, and it shows how the alpha particle can be emitted out of this cubic face of the cube octahedron. It's kind of being spat out, and it makes the carbon molecule. So we started off with oxygen 16. If you look at these numbers here, oxygen has, I think, an atomic mass or a number in the periodic table is 16, but it's composed of 12, carbon 12 and helium 4. So helium 4, you can understand, 4 spheres make a tetrahedron. But it's through the jitterbug effect, the compressibility of this amazing shape called the cube octahedron, that allows particles to dissociate and to reform. This is the definition of alchemy. Chem became the word that we use in chemistry, but chem was also the ancient name for Egypt, K-H-E-M, which is the derivation of our word alchemy. So you can understand that this ancient knowledge from Egypt has passed on to us in this modern age, but we've all forgotten the memory of the cube octahedron. Nobody knows about it. It's not being taught, and this is part of the tragedy of the education system, that the essential ingredients of sacred geometry have been forgotten or lost. So this lost knowledge, I believe, will be revived, and it will take a lot of work. Our work may take a whole generation before it's realised, to bring change into the curriculum where the children that are 5 years old now, by the time they're 18 or 20, they will become the future scientists who are actually working with these essential shapes, who stand on our shoulders to see further and take the work further, so that all these inventions are for the benefit of humanity, and we lead an honest and more pure life as it awakens our consciousness. Because as you know, we've reached a time now where time is accelerating, and we're reaching an age of truth where anything that's a facade or that's not false, or anything that is not the truth, must fall away or be exposed. All scandals at this time, when you read the news, all scandals are being exposed. Everything that was ever hidden or esoteric is becoming exoteric. Esoteric as in hidden inside. Now everything's coming out, so that all hidden knowledge is available to everyone. So the students of the future, they're going to be constructing cube octahedrons. This is a 2-dimensional net, which is just the squares and the triangles, that when you glue them together and fold them up, they make these Archimedean solids. But it needs to be taped or glued. So these nets are very important. There's a lot on the net, a lot of amazing worksheets on the net where children can download any shape they want and construct these at home. And if you like, on every triangle or square, you can program each polygon with a specific wish, desire or intention that you want to manifest into your life. So this is another subtle form of how we can reprogram our consciousness to heal old wounds and manifest what we truly need to work with in this life. And here's a final diagram of an Archimedean solid. This is the soccer ball configuration that we all know. Just to let you know that this exists as a physical entity in the microscopic world. It's known as gadolinium, and it suggests also the shape of DNA in a three-dimensional form, because we understood from the previous lecture that DNA is a matrix of pentagons, hexagons and golden rectangles. And if you look at this diagram, you can see that this is the spherical view of pent and hex embedded beautifully together. What I am here to mirror to you is that I have never had a personal teacher in my life. This vast body of knowledge that I'm revealing to you has humbly come from my inner teachers. I've never had a single mentor or teacher besides the books that I've read by Buckminster Fuller or Charles Leadbeater. So what this material does is that there's psychoactive diagrams that trigger memory of this vast body of inner knowledge that we have. So the knowledge is already there. It's about accessing it through passion and through interest, through colour, through sound, through smell. So we have this knowledge. It's just about accessing the memory of this, and that you are the greatest teacher, and it's our duty to develop our spiritual capacity so that we build up a higher sense of discernment, so that we can never play victim again, so that we can be all knowledgeable, master of all domains in a sense. And it's very powerful studying sacred geometry, because you have to claim sovereignty of your life. You can never become a victim. I'd like to introduce to you one of the chief masters who brought back all this ancient knowledge to the Western world. I have a picture here of Bharati Krishna Tathaji. He was born in 1884 and he died in 1960. So 44 years have gone by, and a lot of the incredible information that he was teaching got buried and dismissed. The reason why he's important was that he was considered to be like the Pope of India. He was the ecclesiastical head of one quadrant of India. So India apparently had 4 spiritual heads. So he was one of the chief heads of one quadrant. He also had a master before him, and because he had great skills in spirituality, philosophy and yoga and astronomy, he was skilled in all areas. So Bharati Krishna Tathaji he defined the Vedas, like what is Vedic mathematics. The word Veda means the illimitable knowledge and storehouse of all knowledge. The knowledge that the Eastern yogis had 3,000 years ago was far superior than what we have today. So the master that we're talking about today, Bharati Krishna, was from this lineage of the Shankaracharya order. When they sing chants to Shankaracharya, they were actually reciting advanced mathematical codes. Remember I talked about pi was 3.141295? When we do these chants to Shankaracharya, we were actually reciting the pi to 32 decimal places. So the question is, how did the ancient people 2,500 years ago know that pi was something to be recited to 32 decimal places? How did they know that? It's quite incredible. So there was advanced knowledge on the planet and it got lost, it got buried, it got hidden during the Islamic wars when Islam came and conquered India. These original techniques of higher learning got buried and lost. So the truth of ancient mathematics was that it was an oral tradition. The magic of mathematics was kept alive by song and chants. So a lot of people, for example, know the Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when they sang these devotional songs, every sound was a number. A bit like numerology where we say A is 1, B is 2 or C is 3. They had an advanced Sanskrit numerological system which we don't have. At the moment, 1 is 1 and 2 is 2. It doesn't have a alphanumeric correspondence. So in a sense, we're kind of lobotomized, because when every word we speak should also have a numerical value. Every number should have a picture to it, but we don't have that. So the ancient Sanskrit, the ancient Hebrew and the ancient Greek languages all had incredible languages. So when they sang this song to Shankaracharya, here's 8 syllables: Go, Pi, Ba, Ya, Ma, Du, Ra, Ta. When they sang these sounds, they attributed certain values. So the word go had a value of 3, and the P sound had 1 and the Ba was 4. So when they said Go, Pi, Ba, Ya, Ma, Du, Ra, Ta, they were reciting pi to 8 decimal places, to 3.1415926. And also the whole history of all the kings and queens and what happened in history, they sang songs that kept the actual history alive through song as well. And this is something that we've lost. And Bharati Krishna's work in Vedic mathematics was to reveal how the ancients thought and how they kept this mathematics alive. Just a little bit about myself and my Arabic background. I was given 5 birth names: Colin, Nula, Saad, Sakua, Yazbek, and nobody could pronounce those names. So it happened that when I had my last healing experience, when someone was paid to kill me, I put a blade right through my heart chakra, I woke up and I had 2 days of being out of my body, and I became Jain. I woke up and suddenly I became Jain. And as you know, the Jains, they have all this ancient mathematical knowledge that we're teaching you. So I somehow contacted my ancestry. But in a sense, what I've learned through ancient mathematics is that all these shapes emit certain frequencies, and we're reaching an age now through non-physical healing. My father took me back to Lebanon when I was 15, and then I went back a second time when I was 21. And on the second visit to Lebanon, I'd heard about a saint, very much like the man known as John of God at the moment, who could heal through just light and in the name of the Lord Jesus. And so 60 years ago there was a saint called Mar Sharbel. Mar means saint, and he lived in a remote mountain monastery. So I took the family car and went with a cousin, and we decided to just go see this saint who the Roman Catholic Church today has ordained as an authentic saint. People from all over the world travel there just to put their hands on the granite tomb and claim miracles. Miracles have been happening all the time. And the reason why I showed you that picture of Mar Sharbel was that he was a healer. He was the greatest healer in all of Lebanon, and he was healing just through light, just through pure intent, through love and transmitting love. In 1984, I was living in a community near the Three Sisters in the Blue Mountains, and a certain sequel of events happened where I stood up for my human rights issues on this community of 40 artists living in the Blue Mountains. And as a victim of corruption, someone actually came and put a blade right through my chest, right through my heart chakra. At that time, the doctors said it was impossible to survive such a fatality, but with my strength of will and the experiences that I had when I was out of my body, I came back with a very strong determination to live, heal this body. And what it's taught me is to focus back from the heart, to heal this wound, and that the basis of all my teachings are to teach a mathematics that is based on pure intent. I'm going to show you some pictures now that focus on the electromagnetic radiation that emits from the heart. We can actually demonstrate now, thanks to the Heart Math Institute, that we can measure this field that emanates from outside the heart. And we have this classic picture of this figure 8 coming out from the heart. If you could visualize yourself standing at the center of these nesting toruses, and you would be able to breathe into that shape around your heart and expand it. I'll give you an example. Here we have the 4th dimensional sphere. This is an imploded sphere. It's the only known shape in the universe that can turn itself inside out. Right? It's a special shape because we have this spiral on the north of the equator. It's going clockwise, but as it crosses the equator, as this spiral is going clockwise, it becomes anti-clockwise down the bottom here. It's the only known shape that fuses duality, because we're talking about oneness here. Scientists all around the world are going excited about this tube torus donut. It was actually the shape of what you looked like in your cosmogenesis, in the first hour of your conception, from the zygote to the fetal stage. This is exactly what you looked like. So visualize that this shape is around you. We're talking about auric hygiene. How do we access ancient knowledge? What did I see when I was out of my body? I saw this living bio matrix that surrounds the energy of our heart, because I was in a critical situation where I had to heal this deep wound coming from my heart. And I believe that this is the healing, and the gift that came to me was that we have this toroidal field. When you look at the diagram here, you can see that this is a nesting of toroidal domains. We have many, many tube torus donuts nesting one within the other. That's a grand secret. That's a very important visual image that I'd like you to take a mental photograph of. Because if every morning you visualize that you can breathe into your pranic tube, if you bring energy from above and from below concurrently, on the in-breath, and on the out-breath you radiate it out. On every breath that you do, you can expand your field of consciousness. So on every breath, you imagine another shell layer. And if you exaggerate that, by the time you've done 20 breaths, your field is like 1 kilometer long. If you do a half-an-hour meditation with this, your field is greater than the distances of the planets. So this is how we can go into the short wave and the long wave, into the atom, into the galaxy. And this is the symbol, this is the 3-dimensional symbol of the golden mean. The circle with a line through it is what is known as the golden mean ratio. This is the 3-dimensional version. So I'd like to show you another picture. So here we have this energy matrix that the ancients could see, and they're connecting. They're bringing down all these energy fields, connecting to all their energy centers in their body. So this is a map of the 7 chakras from the root to the crown chakra. And the secret was how to breathe in that energy. So we are not separated from all these different planetary energies and all these psychic energies. The Sahasrara chakra, or energy centers of tantric literature. The diagram is used to understand how 49 types of breath are associated with the 7 centers. The 1,000-petal center at the head is described as the door of the guru. Utter tranquility through inhaling and exhaling. Yeah, so you'll see many of these diagrams. And see the figure 8 that's around this meditator? If we were to do a cross section, if we were to cut this tube torus donut, slice it in half, you'd be looking at a figure 8. the best way to demonstrate the figure 8 is that here's an energy field, like a DNA spiral. For example, here's a tube of energy, as you all know, this slinky that can walk down the steps. So when we join the beginning and the end, we form a torus. This is the shape that I was playing with before. It's a tube torus donut. But if I was to slice this donut in half, I would end up with a figure 8. So this is the cross section of the donut. And that's why a lot of healers are interested in this figure 8, because it's a natural occurrence of how energy flows through the body. This is what we call a sine wave. The top, the figure, like the letter S, it's a sine wave shape. Okay, so this meditation that I'm teaching to children around the world is called Earth Heart. It's a way of connecting to the greater picture and with the atomic picture, because the memory of all knowledge is stored within our cells. It's in our DNA. And I believe that when we teach children how to breathe and how to meditate, they can access all this ancient knowledge quite simply. So when I go to schools in this show with Mathemagics, we do a quick, like 3-4 minute meditation. We do Sufi dancing. We do this left-right brain Sufi dancing where we get their physical body activated, and then we're ready to sit down and learn, say, mathematics.